that why you were here?
Zip, don't get scared.
Hello and welcome back to a brand new Flick Pick live show where I answer your questions and I talk about movies. And some other weird stuff happens along the way, but nevertheless, it's a magical and mystical time. Thank you for joining me once again, and with all of that said, let me crack open a delicious caffeinated beverage. Because I'm not going to stop until my heart goes... Alright, tonight I'm having a Celsius Live Fit Cosmic Vibe. Oh yes, it does taste cosmic, and it also tastes like horse piss with a little bit of fruit punch in it, but nevertheless, it's delicious. How are you guys doing? What's going on tonight? It's Sunday night, and I figured before we go back to our depressing, humbling, pointless lives tomorrow, I figured we could hang out, have a good time, talk about what makes us smile, and that, my friends, is cinema, and... well, sophomoric crude jokes from yours truly, but it should be a fun time. Let me just dive into the questions, and the main topics will be, I want to talk about Alien Romulus, and I also want to talk about D23 and a few movies that were announced. We're going to dive into those main topics in just a few seconds, so if you have any thoughts on those, chime in on the normal chat. I'd like to know what you guys thought about both of those. And let me answer a few quick questions, and we'll get into those main topics, and then we'll get back to the glorious questions. Because it isn't Ask Anything, more or less. I'm very aware. But here we go. The Movie Nader. What's up, John? Have you seen the movie The Northman? If so, what did you think about it? Well, Movie Nader... That's something I never thought I'd say tonight. Well, Movie Nader. I did see The Northman. I put out basically a first reaction / review of the movie. That might be on this channel. Just type in The Northman, John Flickinger. It is on this channel. So I talked about the movie in that video. I liked it. Is it one of my favorite films from that director? No. I enjoyed the experience. It might be a while till I ever get the urge to go back and revisit it. But I did quite enjoy it. I was hoping it would be a little more focus on the lifestyle of said Vikings. For example, I wanted a little bit more Gladiator in there, but I know the director of this film, so maybe I was expecting too much, but yeah, if you want to watch, oh gosh, I forgot his name. It's getting late. It's Sunday. Did I mention that? Anyway, what's his face farts in a tent and howls like a wolf. You know who I'm talking about. The itsy bitsy Willem Dafoe. My gosh. Okay, let me turn my brain on. 3, 2, 1, click. But speaking of that, by the way, I am an Android. Did you guys know that? And if I were an Android, I would be the most logical, menacing son of a bitch that's ever existed. If you thought Ash was evil, oh, no. Wait till you meet the Flick Pick 3000, baby. All right. I won't tell you what I'm going to do with that acid spit, but it's going to be a good time on a Friday night. Okay, what are we talking about? I'm sorry. I am sorry for that. I'm feeling frisky. Every time I go for an extended amount of time between these live shows, I get a little bit hyped up. We'll blame it on the caffeine. So anyway, let's talk about Alien Romulus, and we will get back into the super chats and all the normal questions, I assure you. We'll get right back to it. So going into this, it's been a while since I've seen an Alien film that I loved. I love the original, but it's not exactly the most rewatchable film to me, but I think it did pave the way, and it was light years ahead of its time. And then you had Aliens, which was directed by James Cameron, and it got a little more action-packed, a little more fast-paced, and it definitely achieved what a summer blockbuster thriller sci-fi film could be. So I always grew up watching Aliens, and that was always more my go-to. And then as far as the third film goes, it's been a while since I've seen it. I do want to revisit it. I have a good friend who loves it. It's directed by Fincher. But I should go back and revisit that. I just remember it being sort of forgettable. And speaking of forgettable, then you have the fourth Alien film that came out in the late 90s with some very late 90s CG. That was the one where the xenomorphs are swimming underwater, but they look like PS1 video game graphics. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. And then you get into a whole bunch of Alien versus Predator movies. But the one that most intrigued me, and I assure you, we will get to Alien Romulus, but I need to give you the backstory, because without the backstory, well, you're not really going to understand my feelings and emotions, are you? And I just want you guys to, whenever that acid tear trickles down my cheek, I want you guys to see the sizzle. So going into Prometheus years ago, to me, that concept alone was everything I've been wanting to see. I almost feel like the concept of Prometheus, if you just removed the xenomorph and it was its own thing, its own little entity, I think that's an amazing concept. Who really created life? Would we consider the engineers God by technical standards? Because if they drop the black goo into the river, well, and we spawn from that, well, I guess they are the creator of life. I thought that was a brilliant concept. I liked the way it looked. I liked the way that the engineers had sort of this perfect godlike muscle definition and amazing traps, which I'm still jealous of. Anyway, the engineers took a lot of protein. Let's be honest. They did a lot of deadlifts. But the execution of Prometheus, I just wanted more. It almost was there, but not quite. And then we had a few other Alien movies where David plays the flute, and it gets really odd, but I kind of enjoyed aspects of it. But now we go into Alien Romulus, right? Now, originally at one point, there was a discussion to actually just make Alien Romulus a direct-to-Hulu streaming movie. It's pretty crazy. Well, not too crazy. If you think a few years back, they actually did something very similar with the Predator franchise, where they made, what was it called? Predator, Hunter, Prey. It was called Prey. And listen, I'm a huge Predator fan. Do it now, Dylan! I love that shit. That's what made me a man when I was younger. When you don't have a father figure, you watch Predator. Okay? It's the best advice I can give you. Anyway, it'll teach you a thing or two about a thing or two. Yeah, sexual Tyrannosaurus Rex. But Prey was sort of instantly forgettable to me. Prey felt like a made-for-streaming Predator movie. It's not bad. It's not terrible. But it just feels like that's made for streaming. So when I found out that Alien Romulus was supposed to be a Hulu streaming movie, that sort of baffled me after watching it in the cinema. Because this, to me, we're going to get into some negatives. I do have a few negatives. You guys know I don't just blindly love anything. Absolutely not. I have many negatives to be said, but just give me a minute. We're going to get there. Alien Romulus, within the first 20 minutes, feels like the truest love letter to the Alien franchise I've ever seen. Now, I will say this about the director. What is his? I always forget his name. He directed the Evil Dead remake, which I thought was brilliant. Alvarez. He has such a craftsmanship in his filmmaking where I feel like if you just handed him the right script that was perfected, the story was there, the dialogue was all great, I would have complete confidence in this man directing anything. After watching Alien Romulus in the theater and watching the practical effects and the scenery and the production quality of it and how it didn't feel like they were just relying on sloppy, blurry CG, they were doing in-camera practical effects using models and miniatures, and you could just feel the real blood and goo spilling across the screen into your eyeballs. That man is what I've been waiting to see in cinema, directing films up in the big screen for a very long time. When I tell you guys, their movies today just don't feel right. There's something missing. There's that magical charm missing. This man has found it, and he's interjecting it into modern day cinema. And it's brilliant. So if they ever, and I'm hoping they at least try one more time because the last 5 attempts blew ass, if they ever make a new Terminator film, and I think specifically because Terminator deals with sci-fi and time travel, if they ever make a new Terminator film and it heavily focuses on time travel back to the 80s, throughout the 90s, and then some modern day mix in there, this guy, I would have full faith directing that new Terminator film and actually making it good and giving me what I want to see, because it feels like this is a director from the 80s who's really competent and knows what he's doing. And somehow he's transported into 2024 and he directed Alien Romulus. So as far as the production design, the look of this film, just the way it felt like the xenomorph was actually and I mean this in the most positive way, you can kind of feel like it was a guy in a suit at times, the way it moves. It's not moving all fast and liquid-like it's made out of CG. No, it's not moving like the T-1000. Absolutely not, because it's not liquid metal. It's this creepy organism that just leeches on and doesn't want to die and spits some acid and at some point has little vagina eggs. But anyway, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but I will reference a few weird things throughout this film, okay? There's some weird shit in this film. But it was needed. And, but no, as far as the craftsmanship of this movie goes, just the way it looked, oh my God, it was everything I've been missing from movies for the last 15 years. So I love the way this movie looks. Now, as far as some of the narrative of the film, I will say this. If you haven't seen Alien Romulus, once again, no spoilers, don't worry. I feel like this film is complete fan service, and it's really well done fan service about 86% of the time. And then there's that other few remaining percent where it stops being subtle, it stops being clever, and it just turns into straight up pandering, and it feels slightly out of place, and it feels like there might have been a way to fit that in there somewhere, but it definitely wasn't where this movie puts it. Especially towards the end of the film, it just feels like that was just tacked in. And and this is my negative with the film. It felt like really good Reddit fan fiction at times. And don't get me wrong, sometimes fan fiction is pretty awesome. It gives you everything you want, but it still has like this fan fiction vibe to it. And I will say just a few moments in Alien Romulus, it had really good fan fiction written all over it. Just in the moments where it panders a bit too much, okay? Those are my negatives with it. And really, everything else I would have a negative with might be slightly nitpicky. I think some of the scenes and the way that they were sort of lined up got a little bit clunky as far as like explaining what was happening. For example, there's a scene where this small pod spacecraft sort of erects into this larger spacecraft into one of the corridors. And these people barely made that. They almost died, right? And then from there, it just cuts from there to them being inside the ship doing something. And I was sort of still stuck on the fact that they were in this crashed spaceship in this corridor that wasn't protected from the elements of space. How did they get out of that? How did they walk into one of the sealed doorways? Did they wear spacesuits when they made that journey? Or what happened there? There's just a lot of instances in this film where it sort of feels like they didn't kind of give me any insight how they got from point A to point B. And I think there was a little bit more you could have gave me to explain the situation and set it up. It just sort of felt like at times a sequence of really thrilling, awesome events that put you on the edge of your seat with face hookers jumping right at the screen. Holy shit. It did make me jump slightly, but my fiance definitely jumped. Me, not so much. I'm a tough man. I'm not afraid of face huggers. Yes, I am. Just get that gooey acid shit away from me. There's no battling that. But no. So, and also there's an android in this film who might be on the spectrum. Like one of his programs is to make him on the spectrum, I guess. So there's that. But no, I really like the way that the film opened up with giving you a little more insight to the Wayland Corp, which are basically the antagonists of these films. It's not the xenomorphs. No. It's an evil corporation. And in my opinion, that's much worse than an evil alien that just wants to lay eggs inside of you. I mean, especially with inflation in this economy. A xenomorph is the least of our worries. Or at least mine. Yeah, the story overall was fun. The main actress in this, Kaylee Spaney, I thought she did a really good job. The thing with the Alien franchise is they always have a strong female lead who's ultimately vulnerable at times, but not really, because they end up being really good at everything that they do. For example, if you just pick up a machine gun in this movie for the first time, you will have 100% God mode accuracy and just take everything out. But I'm okay with it. Sometimes that works because, I hate the term woke. I hate saying things like Mary Sue, even though I think Rey was sort of a Mary Sue in Rise of Skywalker. But anyway, I don't like using those terms. So for me to say I didn't enjoy her character in this film, just being kind of really good at everything, but still being likable and vulnerable, would be kind of hypocritical, because I did enjoy it. It kind of reminds me of 1980s action movies where, yeah, the dude in that movie was just really good at everything he did. He could pick up a car and throw it. I don't know. You name it, they could do it. They were just... they carried the movie along, and the learning curve was very flat. So... But I did like her character in this movie quite a bit. Does it come close to Sigourney Weaver as Ripley? No. But I think this was a fine introduction to this character. I don't know if they're going to carry on with it. Then you had a few other characters, the supporting cast in the movie, and I kind of feel like they were all slightly forgettable, except for the android character played by David Johnson as Andy. I thought his range of emotions were really good, because he kind of plays a very dynamic, synthetic android. And so I thought he did a really good performance in this. And also, he has this face that makes him very likable and sympathetic. He always looks sad. So you're like, okay, I can't feel bad for this guy. But as far as the other cast goes, just... I kind of forgot who was there and what they were doing. The major thing I did want to talk about, as far as story-wise goes, with Alien Romulus, and I see tons of questions popping in, and we will get to all those glorious questions. Give me a few minutes here. Was the third act of this film, it goes off the rails a little bit. My biggest detriment with the story was they rely a little bit too much on the past. And that felt a bit one note. I felt like you could have just had a little bit of that and done anything else. But this movie makes a creative decision towards the end of it. And I could see how some people hate it. There's one movie that came out like 10 years ago I could literally reference, because it feels like a copy and paste of that same design and look. But I won't do that. But I thought it was unsettling. And I think that's everything that this film or the Alien franchise has always been. It needs to make you feel icky and on the edge of your seat. Because if you go back to cinemas in 1979 when the first Alien movie came out, you have this creepy xenomorph sticking his tongue out with little teeth on it, dripping goo. And that was truly unsettling. And in this new film, they definitely do something to push the boundaries. And it's one of those where it's one of these things with some of the visuals that they show that it's so... The truth is, it feels like if xenomorphs were this actual organism that leached onto their counterparts and took parts of them just to reproduce over and over again, that's their goal and their purpose. It feels like some of the design in this film, when it's growing new things... It felt real. It's like that's what nature might do. That's what that might look like. And yeah, it's a little bit icky when you look at it in that light with, and by light, I mean strobe lights and fog. And damn it, I love movies that look like this. Just that alien sci-fi setting with the strobe lights blinking and the like sirens going around. Oh, that's the kind of like light design that just gets me going, man. That's what I love. That's what I wish we had more of in movies. But anyway, this movie definitely gets gross as shit by the third act. Some people might hate it. For me, I think it's what the movie needed. You have to push audiences. You have to make them feel crippled inside and gross feeling, because that's what the Alien franchise should do. And the fact that it made me feel that way and it put me on the edge of my seat, and I enjoyed every scene that there was an alien or a face hugger, and some of the character moments were, lackluster and kind of boring, and some of the story elements were a little bit, but it was all serviceable enough to carry this film through a sequence of awesome, thrilling scenes like Zero-G Acid, for example. I'll leave it there. But this is a great time. And the sound design in this film. This reminded me of what summer blockbusters should be and can be and need to be more of. Just not only the practical effects and some of the simplicity of it all, but just the immersiveness into this other environment that was truly a thrilling blockbuster that was terrifying at times and pushes those limits, but it's still a mainstream blockbuster movie. That's everything a film should be, and so I praise this movie, I really do. There's a lot of things I didn't like. But overall, I think if you want an alien film that panders a few times too many, this is it, man. And I hope they do more of these. Just cut down the pandering, just like 25%. And I think you're going to have a solid next installment. And please bring back the director of this. This guy understands what movies should look like. I felt like I was 9 years old watching this movie at the drive-in. That's how this movie made me feel with the effects and the production quality. So I praise the movie. I think there's a lot of improvement they could have done with the characters and the story, but you know what? Overall, when that Xenomorph popped out of those pipes with the smoke and the strobe lights, fuck yeah. So anyway, get away from her, you bitch. Those are my thoughts on Alien Romulus. Did you guys like it? Did you hate it? It's so hard for me to keep up with the chats here. Don't ask me about Sonic 3. I don't give a shit about that. What am I, 7 years old? Come on. Alien Plus, or someone said Aliens gets an A+. A lot of B+, A+, B's. We're talking about Alien versus Predator there. Take an edible, already did. Now imagine if this director made an Alien versus Predator film. That would be awesome. That would get me on the edge of my seat. That's what I would like to see. Interject a few badass characters in there. Please. If they could bring back Arnold for such a thing, I don't think you could make me happier in life. If they could make another installment like this of Alien versus Predator or Alien and Predator or whatever you want, if you bring back the director of Alien Romulus, you can somehow get Arnold to come back as an old Dutch. Yeah. That would be every man's wet dream. Or at least it's mine. So anyway, I'll dive into the questions here, but yeah, it looks like everyone liked this movie. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of negatives with it. All right, let me try to find the questions because it's been a while since I've done this. There's a lot of things happening right now, and I'm going to move a little bit too slow. Let me scroll on back to the questions here. Here we go. Silvio10708 says, has been a member for 13 months. Well, thank you for that. And you love the content. Well, man, thanks for loving the content. And I love you too. Speaking of content, let me whore myself out for one moment. I did put up a brand new Flick Trip video. That's right. I put up a brand new Flick Trip video. Is that what you wanted? Is that what you needed? It's what I needed. It took 10 years off my life. It made me feel like a young 23-year-old man again. I'll tell you that. It was like going back in time without the DeLorean. Anyway, I put up a brand new Flick Trip video in search of the Furiosa 4K Steelbook. That's over on the FlickPick channel. Go check it out. Put it out a few days ago. I quite enjoy the thumbnail for that video. I was kind of proud of myself. I could get on the whole topic of looking for physical media at stores. Maybe I'll save it for later so I can get through your questions. And I do plan on doing this live show for like a solid hour tonight. Not 2 hours, just one. It's Sunday night. I have responsibilities, okay? I'm an adult now. But anyway, let's go to the next question. The Movie Nader says, what would your advice be to someone that is trying to work out consistently? I work full time, but I am trying to exercise more often. Well, Movie Nader, I would say just go 3 days a week. Pick the best 3 days out of the week and go, and just spend an hour there and listen to a podcast. Make that your podcast listening time. That's the best you can do. I have not been to the gym in a few months, maybe 3 months. But what I do is, since I'm going through a midlife crisis, is I come up with landscaping projects to keep myself busy and physically active every weekend. So it's like mow the grass, weed whack it, build a fire pit, build a new mulch bed. So I come up with these landscaping projects in my yard because the older I get, the more anal retentive I get about my yard. And it's funny to say, like, oh, I understand Gran Torino more now than ever. How picky that man was with his yard. Yeah, get off my lawn. Shut the fuck up. But it's the truth. That's exactly how I'm getting. I look out my window every day that I'm home because I always see kids walk their dogs back and forth. And I just think if that little kid lets that dog shit in my yard, I'm going to run out there with my garden hose and spray him down. That's the point I'm getting to in life. But as far as going to the gym, you just stay physically active. You know, if you hate the gym, pick up a hobby. You know what hobby I picked up recently? These segues are perfect, aren't they? I picked up disc golf. And if you don't know what disc golf is, it's as white as it sounds. You have this like rubber frisbee, and you go to various parks, and you play frisbee golf. And they have these baskets with chains in them, and it takes 3 or 4 throws, but you play through the woods. There's water hazards. There's all kinds of weird shit you see in the park. By the way, the park is not a safe place. If you have children, do not take them there. I have another story I could share about the local park here. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, but I witnessed it just a few days ago when a friend and I were playing disc golf. By the way, but nevertheless, disc golf is phenomenal. Try playing that. Pick up a hobby. I don't know, man. Anything to stay active. That's fun. But anyway, let's go to the next thing. I don't want to talk about the park incident. I do not want to talk about it. The next question comes from... Let's get to it here. Kevy Rez says, thoughts on the upcoming MCU Agatha TV show. Does anyone care about that? I certainly do not. A B-rate spin-off character from a show that was sort of forgettable at best, which I only watched 6 of the episodes. Does anyone care about Agatha? Like, do you know anyone who cares about this show? If you want to see Agatha, the series, leave your thoughts in the comment section right now, and you give me one good excuse why you want to watch this show. And don't you lie, I'll know. Yeah, mowing your grass is the most therapeutic thing you can do. I have a riding lawnmower, and just the rumble of that thing, oh god, it puts me right where I need to be outside. I'll put it like that. That sounded weird. That sounded really weird, but it's true. The next question comes from the Movie Nader. Oh, I already answered this. Max Nugenbauer says, hey, John, long time no see. Anyway, Alien Romulus was great and Borderlands sucked. So I have not watched Borderlands. I know it's going to suck. I could have told you it was going to suck. Reading about it when it first was announced, I could have told you it was going to suck. Also, there's some inside scoops. Who am I? There's been some I guess leaks or whatever that have been trickling down since the production of this film. And I guess the director, Eli Roth, was only part of this film for like 25% of it. Other than that, some other guy directed it. And I think it probably shows. I've not watched it. I don't want to watch it. It looks like a movie that should have come out in 2008 when the game was sort of popular, or 2012 or whenever the game came out. So yeah, I won't ever watch Borderlands. Even if it was on Netflix on a rainy night, I don't think I'd watch it. So I am Realum says, I feel like I read that really odd. Alien Romulus was a love letter to every past Alien film, except for Alien vs. Predator. But the animatronics and practical effects with minimal CGI was badass. What were your thoughts on the movie? Thank you for what I do. Yeah, man. Well, we just talked about it for like 30 minutes, so I hope that was a fulfilling answer. But I loved it. It was everything I think modern-day blockbusters should be. And don't get me wrong. Does it have to look as practical as this film does every time? No. But it's nice to see. And I think I would like to do a study on audiences who've seen this film and ask them what it was that they really enjoyed about the visuals, and just try to get this maybe case study done if people actually do prefer practical effects in a film and they truly connect with the movie more than if that was blatant CG. I would be curious to know that psychological study. So if anyone ever wants to fund such a thing, please let me know, and we can waste a lot of time and resources on it. But I'm telling you, I think there's something internal with us as humans that when you see those practical effects, you instantly connect to it. It just makes it real because that's what it is. Even if you know it's a miniature, it's just, there's something that hits you in the feels, or at least that's me. I'm getting too deep with this. Let's go to the next one. Thanks for the question, man. Tommy Bullard says, good to see ya. Hope you're doing well. Your videos kept me sane through middle school. Ready for Nosferatu from Robert Eckers. Oh, am I? Yeah, it comes out around the Christmas season, so take your family to go see Nosferatu. I know I would. This is the story of Santa Claus, children. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that. And well, thanks for that. How crazy was middle school? Shit. Just wait until high school, man. It only gets worse. Patrick Bateman says, watching Fury Road tonight, not seen it in years. I watch Fury Road at least once a year. I used to watch it on repeat. If I was feeling a little bit like, I don't know, anxious or down and out, and I just wanted something pure to take me to a happy place. And what is that happy place? A very vivid post-apocalyptic wasteland with a man named Rictus Erectus. That is my happy place, I guess. What does that say about me? But no, I would always watch Fury Road. It would just make me feel instantly better. And I did just buy the steelbook of Furiosa, which, by the way, I was going to give away to someone who left a comment on that Flick Trip video. Just go watch the video, okay? All right. So no, I'm looking forward to going back and revisiting Furiosa very soon. I can't wait to pop in the 4K and look at it. Hopefully it looks mind-blowing and orgasmic. Alien Romulus is a waste of space, no pun intended. Well, I think you meant some pun intended there. I mean, clearly. I would disagree. I would say it was a fun movie to experience, and I wish we had movies like that often. Even if it was an original story, that would be. It doesn't have to be a franchise or an IP. If it was just an original story, I would just give me some craftsmanship. The next one comes from Alejandro, who says, shout out the Flick Family Night King 01 Claudio Robocop Rogojohn. Don't know how to say it, but anyways, John, can you please try to make the lives more frequent that really come in clutch when I'm bored at work, at least every other week, man? Hey, I've been doing these once every other week, I think, for the last few weeks. We're on track. I put out a Flick Trip video. I put out a couple of reviews. We're dipping our toes back in the water. It's lukewarm. I'm flicking them back and forth. It feels good. I like making little splashes with my toes in the water. I don't know about you, but I definitely do. That was weird. Let's get back to the video. So yeah, I'm trying to make more videos. I do appreciate it, and I would like to do the live streams at least once a week. There's so much to talk about. There's almost too much to talk about. And I will eventually talk about Toy Story 5 and D23, but I'm 22 minutes behind on the questions, and I'm a slut for your questions. So let me get these wrapped up a little bit further, and then we'll talk about D23 and Toy Story 5. Nick Gibson says, have you watched Barry Lyndon, my #1 Kubrick film? Probably. I don't think I have, or maybe it's been a long time. I don't remember that Kubrick film. Which Kubrick film? Was that like his first? I don't think I've ever seen it. I've seen everything else. So I no thoughts on that. I should watch that. If I'm going to be a connoisseur of film, I should probably watch it. PS2 Homer says, did you watch Kill Tony? Did I watch Kill Tony? Not yet. That sounds familiar. But what I did start watching, speaking of killing, is I started watching Blackbird. I know, I believe people have told me for years to watch Blackbird. They're like, John, it's sort of like the TV show you want to watch. And I finally watched it this week, and I was like, you're absolutely right. This is the TV show I've been waiting for. It's not perfect, but it's damn good. I love it. I love shows about serial killers and that take place in prison, and it's a little bit dark and sinister, but there's a little moments of levity in it. Oh, it's brilliant. I quite enjoy it. So anyway, that's my answer to your question. The Movie Nader says, have you seen the movie Haywire starring Gina Carano? I have seen that. That came out around the time movies like, what was it? What was that? Mile 23 with Mark Wahlberg. Those like really kind of like directed DVD movies that were coming out at theaters. Like really subpar generic movies. But I have seen it. It was directed by Steven Soderbergh, made by Ocean's 11. Would recommend checking it out. If you haven't, go see it. It's a hidden gem to recommend. Well, I just shit on your hidden gem. I'm sorry for that. As far as I remember, Haywire was not that great, but I could be wrong. It blends together with like 3 other movies that came out around the same time. The cover had like an orange background on it. And Gina Carano was like black and white. Isn't that what it looked like, or am I completely mistaken? Anyway, Chad Hagen says, should there be another Mad Max? That probably will never happen, seeing how this new Mad Max film was a complete box office bomb, which is really disappointing. I figured more people would want to go see like a big action movie like that. Yeah, so we probably won't see another Mad Max film unless maybe they could do a really simplistic like throwback version to it that was very cheap, and they could make it for like streaming or for Max as a streaming movie, sort of like what they did with the Predator franchise and Prey. Maybe they could do a very cheap Mad Max movie and go back to the grassroots of it, make it feel raw and gritty and sort of guerrilla style, you know, and that'd be kind of a cool take on it. You know, we've had the big glamorized, waxy versions, but maybe we could do something like that. Other than that, I don't see anyone investing a lot of money into a Mad Max movie, which is unfortunate. But the detriment with this new movie, Furiosa, was they just took way too damn long with the sequel. Like, you should have capitalized on the 2015 one. I mean, they just waited way too long. Silent Knight 62 says, "Hey John, recently moved to Wisconsin. The Midwest sure is weird. Anyway, I've been watching lots of movies. Point Break is a dang masterpiece." Well, yeah, man, it wasn't just about us. It was about us against the system, showing that the human spirit is still alive while everyone else inches down the freeway in their metal coffins. So, yeah, absolutely. Great movie. Point Break that's another movie. If you guys know how much I hate the Point Break remake, and if you don't, go watch that video because there's a vein that almost pops out of my neck. But anyway, the Point Break remake was everything wrong with remakes. But you know what? If you took a director like, once again, the director of Alien Romulus, and he could direct a Point Break movie, I feel like I would have faith in it being kind of good. That's all I want. But anyway, yeah, man, thanks for watching. Thanks for the question. And the Midwest is definitely an odd place to be. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. It's nice and safe and kind of flat. Feels good. Joel Nilsson says, "What is a reboot you would actually like to see?" That's a great question. I'm sure there's something I'm not thinking of off the top of my head as far as reboots go. Well, okay. I'm going to give you a few answers to this. As far as wanting to see a reboot, now there's a lot of different directions you can go, right? You can play it safe, or you can give the answer that will offend everyone. And listen, I'm a man who's not afraid of anything. So with all that said, if I could reboot one big franchise, hear me out for a second, don't cancel me. I would like a continuation of Back to the Future. Listen, you will never meet anyone who appreciates the original franchise of Back to the Future more than I do. 1.21 gigawatts! I live and die by Back to the Future. If I was on my deathbed and you said, "John, you want to watch one last franchise before we pull the plug?" I would say Back to the Future, because it would just take me to my happy place. And yes, do I slightly look like Biff Tannen? Maybe. But nevertheless, maybe I am. Maybe I'm the reincarnation of Biff Tannen. That's why I like the movie so much. But anyway, I think there is room. If you got a very, very solid story, a perfect narrative from a great screenwriter, and you got the best director, and please, Robert Zemeckis, come back and help produce this to some degree, I think there's plenty of room to make the ultimate Back to the Future new trilogy. I really do. I think that would be amazing to see. And maybe because I'm selfish and I just want to go back in time again with the DeLorean, but I think there's something you could do there. But do not destroy what the original trilogy did. Keep it as it is, but just add to the lore and continue on in a respectful manner. I think there's a lot of different directions you could go. So in that regard, that's one new reboot I wouldn't mind seeing, because I just would like to go back to the movies and feel that again with the DeLorean flying through time, throw in some like awesome rock ballad music there, but still make it feel new enough so it's not just pandering to the originals. And you could bring back Doc Brown to some degree. That's what I would like to see. I know that's maybe not the best answer. Or hell, maybe reboot something like Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And I know they sort of tried to do that with Jonah Hill in The Babysitter, which was an awful, awful take on that. Or was that more of Adventures in Babysitting? Yeah, that wasn't that. Okay, so yeah, if you haven't seen Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, it's a great early 90s comedy film that I feel you could recreate for today's audiences, make it kind of, you push the limits of like grotesque humor and have some fun with it. And I think a new version of that would be interesting. It's just a comedy movie that you could make for like $35 million. So Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter is Dead is my answer. That or Back to the Future. Those are the two different parallels I live on. So anyway, yeah, and someone said, haha, I kept thinking this guy looks like Biff. Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? Okay? McFly! No, my favorite Biff line. Since when did you become the physical type? Oh, God. Oh, that's technically from Griff. I know, but I'm still going to say that. Steven says, I'm about to watch Irreversible with my mom. Well, have a great time. Jacob Conley says, love what you said with Adam Sandler on Joe Rogan. Oh my God, I made a comment on Joe Rogan's post and you saw it? That is baffling. That's crazy, man. Technology. How did that happen? Yeah, so I do listen to the Joe Rogan podcast at times, depending on who the guest is. Because there's only so much I can hear about the pyramids and UFC and stand up. But he had Adam Sandler on his podcast. I need to take a sip. I'm getting a little parched. Anyway, Joe Rogan had Adam Sandler on his podcast, and Joe Rogan just talked about himself the entire time, and Adam Sandler just going, he didn't even do that. He just sounded like tired old man Adam Sandler. And he's like, yeah. And Rogan was just talking about everything not relating to Adam Sandler. And Adam Sandler got to the point where he was asking Joe Rogan questions. And at one point, I swear, Adam Sandler mumbled to himself, why am I even here? You know, and then he said, chlorophyll, more like borophyll. But that's what this podcast was borophyll. And so anyway, that was a comment I left on Instagram that this watcher/viewer saw. So thank you for that. I'm glad I got to get that out, though. I was waiting to rant about that. Bo Cylinder says, just saw M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit. What are your thoughts on it? Bo Cylinder, I do have a review for The Visit on the Flick Pick channel. I talk all about it. So go check it out, man. I liked it. I thought it was a good twist. It was eerie. It was creepy. One of the better M. Night movies, because Trapped was not quite what I wanted it to be. The next one comes from Big K Movies and Games. I'd love an alien film like this, but for the third act twist, Predator appears as an alien versus Predator fight ensues to the end of the film. No spoiler ads. Let this be a surprise. Yeah, I could see a Predator popping up in an upcoming alien movie. That'd be cool. Does he pop up at the end for no reason? I don't know. Maybe. It has to make a little bit of sense. So if they can set that up, I'll be content with it. I wish we could capitalize back on the space jockeys and the engineers. I thought that was a really interesting concept. I'm mad we did not get a fulfilling conclusion to any of that. You look tired. Do you have a 9-to-5 job? Do I look tired? I'm sorry. Do I look a little sluggish? Fucking excuse me. No, I do have a 9-to-5. Yeah, I do. So that's why YouTube has kind of been on the back burner for the last year. I've been trying to do both, and it's just really hard to juggle. But I'm doing my best. I just woke up. Pizza vlog soon? I wouldn't say never. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe the next time I get pizza. I did, in the new Flick Trip video, do a candy review in the video with some Shaq Fu gummies that are shaped like Shaq's head. I'll tell you one thing I'd like to do. If I wasn't talking about movies on YouTube, I would probably review candy. And what I would do, and this is $1 million idea. You cannot copy this. I claim copyright. Anyway, I should just drive around to gas stations and buy weird, crazy candy and do reviews of it in my car. Anyway, maybe no one would watch that. Maybe 3 people would watch that. I bet it would work on TikTok. Anything works on TikTok. Everything works on TikTok. Have you ever scrolled through the TikTok live feed at like 2 o'clock in the morning and just seen some of the loneliest, pathetic fucking people you've ever seen? And you go, oh God, what is this? Oh, it's terrifying. That should be a horror film. That's another $1 million idea. John, you look great. Well, thanks for that. I just had some Botox. I'm kidding. So let's go to the next question. Mike Spoon says, "Hey John, what's your favorite and least favorite energy drinks?" I like the older I'm getting, the more I like the energy drinks that don't taste thick and overly flavored. Something like Celsius is kind of good. I like it. It feels a little bit lighter and slightly more quenching. But I definitely do not go through as many energy drinks as I once did. It's getting late. Okay. Let's go to the next one here. I'll try to go a little bit quicker. Oh, have you tried Gorilla Mine energy drinks? I have not. Never heard of it. They taste good. I would recommend. Sending love. Well, thanks, man. I haven't tried those. What was it called? Gorilla Mine energy drinks? I have not tried those. The Movie Nader says, thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine director wanting to make a Deadpool and Spider-Man movie. I could dig on that. If I would trust the director, and I would love to see that. Do I think a Spider-Man movie also needs Deadpool, or would that be overkill? I feel like that almost might be overkill. Because I think Spider-Man and Deadpool are so... The dynamic between Wolverine and Deadpool, it's there. The dynamic between Deadpool and Spider-Man, I don't know. I just, that's not as interesting to me. It's not as contrast. Would I like to see that movie? Sure. But I don't know. I kind of would prefer Spider-Man with not a character who can just regenerate and pretty much do anything and breaks the fourth wall that often. But then again, in all fairness, the Spider-Man movies, the first one kind of had a Ferris Bueller's Day Off vibe with kind of feeling like a high school comedy. So, you know what? At this point, fuck it. Give it to me. I trust the director. I love Deadpool and Wolverine. I'll take it. Caleb says, buff-ass engineers, I need more of them. Would you rather the Prometheus storyline continue or a Romulus sequel? I would honestly say if you could give me a little bit of... Can you give me the same production crew and director of Romulus and give me a Prometheus movie, maybe? However you want to do that, I will take it, or intertwine them. I don't care. A new YouTube account says, people either say Romulus is the best movie ever or a giant turd, which I find strange. I sit in the middle. Fine, enjoyable movie, no masterpiece. Well, you know, that's the thing with audiences and people overall these days. When it comes to having a thought on anything, it's I hated it or it's the best thing ever. You can't just say, yeah, it was pretty good, but it had a lot of flaws, you know? You can't say that. You can't be in the middle. You have to hate it or love it. There's no in between. There's no nuance. Nuance is, you have to have an IQ high enough to understand nuance. So you simplify the concept, and that's what people go, good or bad. I have no other articulating thoughts I can give you in the middle of this thought, which might transpire some substance of how I feel. You either hate it or you love it. I don't know. What was the question? I loved it. Whatever it was, I loved it. Derek says, "Hey, John. Good to see you, man. Question for you. Would you rather be killed by a xenomorph or a predator?" I would much rather fight a predator than a xenomorph. Holy shit, a xenomorph. If they eat me, I'm going to grow inside of them. They're going to pop me out. I don't want to go through that entire thing. Plus, you can't really kill them. Their acid will melt through anything. So I can't fight them in space. If I'm fighting them in the jungle, I don't know. I don't know how that would work out. I would much rather fight a predator. I really would. It just... They kill you with honor. They don't embody you and give birth. Ugh. So, yeah, probably a predator. Carter Lovejoy says, "Do you think Cameron is becoming like George Lucas with how he's remastering his old classic films with AI? True Lies on 4K deserve better." Yeah, and I also heard Cameron come out and defend this. Something about like, you know, I know what I'm doing, you don't. And to a certain degree, he is the director. He made the movies. It's like, okay, if that's your vision, fine, but your vision looks slightly more overly digitized, less grainy, and plastic-like than the original vision you had with this new 4K transfer, James. So I don't know what he's doing. He likes to add blue tint to everything now, even if it doesn't need it. So yeah, I would agree with you. I hate when people take an old print of a film and digitize the shit out of it. Leave some of that dirt in there. Just make it look nice. Dino Boy 909 has become a member. Well, thanks, Dino Boy. Jonas Gerald says, "Did you separate between best and favorite movies? I think it's possible to intellectually understand what makes a movie great better than one of my favorites without having a strong personal emotional connection to it." Yes, I would concur with such a statement. There are many films that I think are great, but I don't really love them, if that makes any sense. They do everything a film should. I understand why they might win an Academy Award, but I personally just do not connect to this. And I feel like it's almost trying too hard to win an award. For example, I mean, I guess that would be one example of what we were talking about there. But yeah, there's many films I have many of films where I have personal connections to them, but I know from a critical standpoint, this is not a great film. I'll give you a shining example. Even though I do think it has some of its own merits, and I could debate you on it for an hour and a half, but I think Over the Top is a terrible movie. I think I completely understand why you would say that's a piece of shit. But I love it. It has so many personal connections to it. I have so many personal connections to it that it's the embodiment of what I consider a hidden gem of the 1980s. You know, that's the way I look at it. But I understand if you look at it and go, "This is fucking stupid," and I get it. I completely understand. The Movie Nader says, "Thanks for the advice about exercising. I appreciate it. One more question. What are your thoughts on training day? Take care, bro. Love the live streams." Well, thanks for that, buddy. And thanks for the very generous super chats to all of you. And thanks, man. Jesus. Thank you. Training day, I just recently rewatched that in the past year, and I forgot how vile on the edge of your seat that movie is. Like, Denzel in that film is the perfect embodiment of the biggest, sleaziest piece of shit. But when watching Training Day again, you almost... his character oozes shithead, con artist, manipulator, gaslighter, narcissist. And it just baffles me how he stayed ahead of the curve so long, doing all that shit he was doing, and be the head of the detectives and not have been caught. Or it just seems like he just seemed like a detective that wouldn't have made it that far doing that much criminal activity. Like, it just, I don't know. But the scene where, like, they chase down Snoop Dogg and they put the pin down his throat and he pukes. Oh man, it's Training Day is some good shit. I love Training Day. All right, the next one comes from Oh, sorry. Landon Lee says, What's another superhero you'd think be cool if Christopher Nolan did?" Huh. I'm pretty good on Christopher Nolan superhero movies. I think I'm good on them. I really do. I'm really trying to dig deep. I mean, the only one that might be okay would be something like Punisher. I think Christopher Nolan doing a Punisher movie could be pretty awesome. But do I think he's the best man for that job? Maybe not. But who wouldn't want to see a Christopher Nolan Punisher movie? But whatever he would do in the superhero genre, I think it would have to be grounded, much like you can make Batman to some degree. So yeah, I guess Punisher. Maybe you could do Daredevil, but I feel like that's too much like Batman. So I will go with Punisher for Nolan if I had to. But I don't want to see Nolan direct a superhero movie. Dino Boy 909 says, thoughts on hood movies like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, Belly, Dead Presidents, and the greatest Jim Carrey movie. What? The greatest Jim Carrey movie. What the fuck was that? What does that mean? So anyway, what does that mean? So I love me some urban culture movies. I love Boys in the Hood. Great. Phenomenal. I love Ice-T in that movie. Ricky! And I got to meet, what is his name? The actor who plays him. I interviewed him. What is his last name? It's escaping me right now. Anyway, it's like a food. His last name's a food. Anyway. So anyway, I love those types of movies. Menace to Society was great. Straight Outta Compton was fine. But Baby Boy is one of my favorite comedy movies of all time. Like, I love that movie. I love the humor in that from Vig Rhames. That shit makes me laugh. When he's out there making Kool-Aid butt naked, fucking, that's gold. Or movies like Friday, I mean, phenomenal. Those are some of my favorite types of comedies. But I also like the grittiness of something like Menace to Society. All right, the next one comes from Kevy Rez, who says, who is your woman wrestler crush minus Carrie Sane? Interesting. I don't know. You probably have to go with someone like, I don't know. Well, back in the day, it was always Trish Stratus. Everyone liked Trish Stratus. Then nowadays, I don't know. Rhea Ripley, because I feel like she could choke me out. The next one comes from Blunt's #1 fan, who says, hey, John, so Zodiac is coming out on 4K. I hope it'll wipe that sour taste that was the killer. What? Sounds like a good 4K. Wipe the sour taste that was the killer. What do you mean, wipe the sour taste of the killer? I don't know what that means, but that could be a cool 4K. I still think they found the man in Zodiac. I don't understand who else it could have been. Dino Boy 909 says, top 5 Halloween scary movies. Oh, man. Bruce Cook says, Sean Bean, ? No. It was the dude who played Ricky. Morris Chestnut, yes. See, I said his last name was a food. Chestnut. I remember that much. So anyway, top 5 favorite scary movies. I'd have to dig deep. There's a lot of terrifying so if I'm going to watch like 5 movies I actually enjoy watching around Halloween time, not necessarily the scariest movies, but I'm going to start with, I like the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I quite enjoy that. I like the remake of The Ring. I quite enjoyed that as a remake. I always enjoy one of the original Nightmare on Elm Street films, maybe the first one or the third one. Dream Warriors, I think, is a terrifying, awesome experience. I love the original Halloween, though I think it's still terrifying in some degree, yeah. But there's a lot of other scary movies I like to watch. Like, I remember the first time I saw The Conjuring, I thought that was great. Or Insidious was great, and then every installment progressively got worse. But Also, as far as like movies that make you feel uneasy and kind of like on the edge of your seat that don't have crazy people, chainsaws, whatever, chasing you through the woods. Something like It Follows was a great horror film, and I'd like to see more in that genre. There's a couple of horror films coming out soon. One of them is, oh gosh, I knew I'd forget this. Is it called Heretic? Is it called Heretic, the new horror film coming out, where the two girls go to the house and creepy dude is inside? I believe it's called Heretic. Let me know. That comes out soon, right? I'm looking forward to that. The next one comes from Carter Lovejoy, who says, Disney sucks with physical media now. They need to start licensing some of their titles to Criterion. Shout out / Scream Factory, Arrow, and Kino Labor. Man, you made me say a lot. Yeah, Disney, I don't even remember the last thing I bought from Disney. I've been getting a lot of steelbooks, and I have an extensive selection of steelbooks down there on the bottom two shelves. By the way, do you like Huey Lewis and the News? But I got tons of steelbooks these days, man. But yeah, not many Disney ones. Maybe that's just they haven't really released anything I want to buy on steelbook, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're right. The next one comes from, and don't get me started on physical media. It's dying. Don't go to Target. They have more vinyl LPs to buy than they do have Blu-rays. It's a weird phenomenon. Laundry says, John, will we ever see another movie collection? Maybe. I do have a lot of different movies than I had a couple years ago, so it's a possibility, man. Maybe one day on a rainy day when I get super bored. The Suck Zone for Life says, hey, John, thoughts on Twisters? Well, it's almost a narcissistic question coming from a guy with the username The Suck Zone. So what about Twisters? I don't know. Call me crazy. Oh, I hated it. I very much enjoyed it in Dolby Surround Sound. They opened an independent movie theater with Dolby Atmos and at Great Northern Mall in North Olmsted. Very fun. Well, fuck. I did not like the movie. I quite hated it. I thought it had one of the worst stories I've ever seen, and I thought it was almost comically bad at times. So I hated it. I'm sorry. I really did. Anyway, it was just like a Netflix remake, for TikTok people. It just had no craftsmanship, just gray clouds. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Glen Powell. But anyway, man, I'm glad you had a good time. I can see how the sound in Twisters would blow you away. I could definitely see that. Laundry says, John, will we ever see another movie? I already answered that. Clint Interiano says, John, would you rather watch a crossover film with Ryan Gosling, Drive character, and Jake Gyllenhaal's character from Nightcrawler? I would pay to see that shit, absolutely. One's the muscle and one's the brains. Yeah, that would be an interesting duo for sure, man. I don't know what they would do together. They just have such strong egos. I could see his character from Drive just wanting to kill Lou Bloom. I could just see him being annoyed with him. Shut your fucking mouth. You don't talk, you don't go anywhere. You got me for 5 minutes. Outside of that, I'm yours. Want a toothpick? Jonas Gerald says, John, you liked Romulus? For me, there was fundamentals of lack of creativity. The fan service felt forced and poorly executed, and the xenomorphs were nothing threatening. It's a perfect example of watered down, regurgitated baby food, as you like to call it. Well, I guess I understand where you're coming from to some degree, but I'm going to disagree. I thought it was great. I love the craftsmanship, man. I mean, I stated everything I had to say about it. Yeah, I definitely think the biggest issue was the fan service, and the story just needed to be original. But I think everything that they did that paid homage to the original films that just felt practical and real and just gave us what we wanted to see from an alien film. From that standpoint, it was brilliant. And also, I will be slightly forgiving, because if this is just to launch a new Alien franchise and have this kind of tone and practicality to it, if this is the launch pad for making $80 million Alien movies rather than spend $200 million like most blockbusters are doing now. If this is the launch pad just to get everyone back on board and maybe almost introduce itself to a new audience of younger viewers who aren't familiar with the original ones, from that, I think I'm okay with it. As long as from this point on, they have more of an original narrative. They don't rehash the same shit, and they don't force one-liners in there that make absolutely no sense to pander to some people. Okay, so maybe in the future, if it's slightly more original but keeps the same tone and this look and this craftsmanship, I'll be completely satisfied with it. But at times, with all that said, at times, just for slim moments before it went truly rated R, it kind of felt like a Stranger Things vibe, but with Alien. Just at moments. And then it got a little bit rated R. Too rated R for something like Stranger Things, with the alien gooey vaginas. Yes. Anyway. I'm sorry for that. Yes. Gosh. The lead, I Am Realm says the lead to Alien Romulus, Callie Spaney, was pretty good in the role. The whole time watching the movie, she resembled Ellie from The Last of Us. That's the immediate thought I got looking at her too. I was like, if she was just a few years younger, she would look like Ellie from Last of Us. And I was like, that would have been the ultimate casting choice. So yeah, that was definitely a missed opportunity. Thought she would have been a solid Ellie on the show. Yeah, I would agree with you. Definitely looks the part. But I liked her in Alien Romulus. I liked her kind of as a younger leading lady, because they're definitely trying to capitalize on the younger demo for a new Alien franchise, which is kind of smart, So because people over the age of 35 already like Alien and they're gonna go see anything, but these TikTok kids, I tell you, they just don't know, but now they do. So anyway, here we go. By the way, if you're a TikTok kid, let me know down below. Caleb says, John, what would you recommend putting money into? I don't know, Dogecoin. That's the financial advice from me. Anyway, are there things you wish you could have done differently in your 20s to ensure more money where you are now? Oh, absolutely. Do I think of many of things I could have done very differently that I never did? It's one of those things that just sneaks up on you a little bit too quick. I hate inflation. Anyway, yeah, I should have invested more into the S&P 500, played the stock market maybe more, maybe started a Roth account way sooner, little things like that. Put some money aside, stop buying every fucking stupid thing you want. And if I could go back in time and break the rules of physics and have a DeLorean time machine with a Mr. Fusion on the back of it because plutonium's too hard to come by. If I could do that kind of back in time kind of advice, I wouldn't give myself an almanac, but what I would do, because I don't want to watch sporting events all the time. What I would do is I would tell myself, buy stock in Apple and buy shit tons of Bitcoin. And especially when Bitcoin was 7 cents a Bitcoin or whatever. Oh God, you just think if you would have put $20 in the right place at the right time, you'd be a billionaire. That's the life that we live. And that's why I don't think it's real. We live in the Matrix. Anyway. Travis says, BET actually made Don't Tell Your Mom the Babysitter's Dead remake. I don't know how it is. What? Well, that's something I want to watch and maybe do a commentary on. Don't Tell the Mom the Babysitter's Dead, the BET original. You know what? That might just be the best thing I've never seen. Someone remind me to watch this on every live stream until I finally do. And by the way, thanks to all 340 of you in here. Let me try to answer these questions a little bit quicker. I'll go way quicker, I promise. I just woke up. What's your Back to the Future reboot cast? Oh my God, I can't come up with that off the top of my head. I'm thinking Jim Carrey and Tom Holland, or maybe that would be horrible. Haha. Please don't put Jim Carrey in it. I think Christopher Lloyd would definitely have to come back. I think 10 years ago, Tom Holland would have been a really good casting choice, but he's just too popular now. So I don't know if that would work, but 10 years ago, Tom Holland, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I would like Christopher Lloyd to come back. I'm sure there's some other method actor that would probably be great for zany Professor Brown, or Doc Brown, excuse me. Give him the credit that he deserves, but man, I'd have to think on that. I mean, okay, no, I'd have to think about it. Okay. Michael Witherspoon says, I'm moving for the 8th time tomorrow. Any tips? Oh, man. I've done that 12 times in my life, maybe 13. Well, actually, I've done it 13 times since I've been an adult. I'll put it that way. After a while, you just become numb to it. And once you move so often, I think psychologically, you don't really get settled in anywhere for at least 2 years. Or at least that's how I was. I would move somewhere and I would not unpack everything for months. And then what I would do is do the bare minimum, because I was like, oh, I'm just going to pack this up again in like 5 days. So yeah, those are a few things I always did. But some tips, just throw shit in boxes and get it there and figure it out later. Like, don't sit there and organize every box for 7 hours. Just throw it and go. Okay, the next one comes from Brody Weaver says, do you jump easily at horror movies? No, not often, because I've seen so many movies. I can kind of always predict where the jump's coming from or what's going to happen. I can just feel the pace of it. But sometimes when it does get me, I have to give that movie complete credit, because I'm kind of a hard nut to crack. And with all that said, let's just go to the next question. Greg Thompson says, thoughts on the movie Shocker? Finger licking good. Oh, fucking love me some Shocker. You want to talk about 80 shitty horror films that were just junk? Shocker is one of those. It's about a cable repairman serial killer who can kill you through your TV. Essentially, he's Freddy Krueger, but with more electricity. That's Shocker. Love it, though. The movie cover to that on VHS always intrigued me. Every time I went to the movie store, the cover Shocker with his face being electrocuted always just made me want to see it. And I would pass over it time and time again. And one day I finally did rent the movie Shocker, and it definitely shocked me. I don't know if it was a good response or a bad one, but it's something. Good schlock to watch around October. James Dosher says, hey, John, I saw Deadpool and Wolverine yesterday with my aunt and uncle, and we all like it. Well, that's good to hear, James. I loved it too, buddy. Your name here says, hey, John, congrats on getting married, brother. Yeah, in October, I'm getting married. It's scary, isn't it? As the late great John Candy said in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, like your job, love your wife. Ain't that the truth, man? It really is. I wish I could just sell shower ring curtains. I really do. The next one comes from Clark Ingleton, who says, who was the worst work colleague or your boss you've ever had, and why? Besides that lady at Domino's who threw the pizza. That was instantly who goes to my brain. That fucking crazy lady at Pizza Hut, by the way, just threw all these free pizzas away because she was miserable with her life. I hope wherever she is, she's in a lot of agonizing pain right now, and I hope she's watching this. Anyway, I don't know. My current situation is definitely a contender at times. But other than that, I'm trying to think of a boss that I hated. I've had many. Oh, I worked at Jiffy Lube for a few months back in high school, me and a friend of mine. And we had these two grotesque, gremlin-like ladies who were our bosses. And they just felt like the bottom of the barrel scum. Anyway, at Jiffy Lube, it was kind of fun. I liked working on cars to a certain degree. It was almost therapeutic. Good times, but a lot of downtime where we just fucked off and did nothing. And by the way, if your car went through Jiffy Lube at some point in 2006 in Fort Wayne, Indiana, I'm sorry for that. A lot of mistakes happened. Don't blame me. blame my friend. But anyway, so those bosses, one day, The trashy, scumbag sack of rotten meat smelled like eggs troglodyte lady walks in, and she I had some like garbage on the desk, and she flung it off the ground thinking she was funny. I was like, oh, okay, that was stupid. Are you going to pick it up? And she's like, no, you're going to pick it up. I was like, I'm not picking that up. And she's like, okay, if you don't pick it up, you're fired. I'm like, okay, I don't give a shit. And I got up and left. And my friend who worked with me at the time, this is when I knew my friend was a real OG. He's like, hey, John, wait, are you quitting? I was like, yeah, I'm quitting. He's like, okay. And he looked at the troglodyte and said, I quit too. Bye. And we both got up and left. And as we were leaving, multiple cars pulled in line to get their oil changed. And that was called liberation. And that was called freedom. But that was also called I was in high school and I didn't need to pay my electric bill tomorrow. So, good times. So that was one of my worst boss stories. I hope you enjoyed it. Talking to you guys just makes these thoughts flow out of my mouth like an orgasmic waterfall of useless information. The next one comes from Jonas Gerald, who says, if you ever need a break from generic Hollywood movies, then I recommend a Danish film, The Hunt, from 2012, starring Mads Mikkelsen. It's about a kindergarten teacher whose life gets brutally shattered by a sick lie made by a kid at a 310 on IMDb. It has an 8.3 on IMDb. Yeah, I can only imagine what that accusation was. It sounds kind of cool, man. That's my kind of grit I enjoy. The Hunt. Oh man, okay. It sounds like there's going to be some crimes against humanity in that film. Okay, I can dig on that. I'll check it out. Dino Boy 909 says top 5 Tim Burton movies. Probably Batman Returns. I might throw some Beetlejuice in there. I like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. There's probably something else Tim Burton-y I'm not thinking of that I really enjoy. I like some Edward Scissorhands. I think if you want the most surreal, enjoyable Tim Burton movie, that's definitely one of them. But then again, they're all super fucking surreal, so what am I talking about? But I think my favorite character of Tim Burton, original character, was definitely Beetlejuice. Definitely. Hey, I'm walking down here. That's kind of... Okay, so anyway, sorry for that outburst, but I'm kind of looking forward to the new Beetlejuice movie, but it almost looks like they shot it in like 2 weeks, and it looks like the budget was limited for some reason. So that's my only fear with the new Beetlejuice movie, looking at the trailer. The next one comes from Landon Lee, who says, John, I got hypocritical. Can I read? Would you rather be trapped inside a mall for 24 hours with 5 black mambas or 1 gorilla? Trapped inside of a mall? What kind of weapons do I have? Do I have any weapons? I think the gorilla I could escape. I really do. Just one of them? I think I could maybe escape the gorilla. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just hide in Foot Locker until it found me and killed me. Ward Smith Kingston 82 says, Superman Returns was a better Superman movie than Man of Steel. Listen, if you... No, I disagree. I get why you would say that from a narrative standpoint, because sad Superman sounds intriguing. It does. But just him being sad and floating around and looking at Lois Lane and Lex Luthor, played by Kevin Spacey, on a big giant iron rock that he was going to sell as a real estate scheme. And it's like, who would ever want to live on this giant, sharp, rigid rock where it's raining? Like, okay, what kind of real estate scheme is that, man? No one wants to move there. So I hated it. I hated Superman Returns. I remember seeing it in theaters and thinking it was boring. But Man of Steel was fun. I felt something. That was that was Superman. That was the most homoerotic statement I've made all night, but I'll stand by it because Henry Cavill was wearing that spandex suit. Okay? I questioned things that day. But no, man, I loved Man of Steel. I loved it. I loved the score by Zimmer, and it was a good time. It wasn't perfect, but Superman kicked some ass. It was kind of the version of Superman I wanted to see. The next one comes from On Side, who says, "Hey John, been watching you since 2012. I used to love your collabs with Chris Stuckman. Any plans for collabs in the future? Maybe more with Austin." Yeah, probably Austin. You know, anytime we run into each other at press screenings and movie theater parking lots, we try to shoot something together. And the unfortunate thing about that is we both drive 3 hours to press screenings. And, we hang out and talk about movies for a few minutes. And by that point, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and we both just want to get home. So we're like, well, do you want to shoot something together? And you're kind of tired and exhausted and you forget half the shit you want to say. So that's the unfortunate thing about collabs these days. So, but yeah, anytime I can talk movies with another person, I love it. The next one comes from Gross Pigeon Lady. Oh, no statement from her though. The Hunt is great. Sniffy Lube. Yeah, I definitely want to watch The Hunt. That's one movie I've not seen. If any YouTube members are in here right now, chime in. I'm watching and listening for your questions. By the way, before you guys ask any more questions, and we'll keep talking for a few minutes. There's 254 of you glorious, beautiful people watching, so I can't leave you now. I'm not going to leave you. Not now, not ever. Okay? You sit tight. Matter of fact, go refill your popcorn and add another ice cube to that room temperature Diet Mountain Dew and listen to the soothing sounds of this jerkwad. Okay, hang on. Was there a question there I was going to answer? Oh, yes. So real quick, I want to talk about D23 and Disney and the announcements that they made. And now I have nothing in front of me to go off of. I do not put notes anywhere before I do live streams. I find them to be handcuffs, and I don't want to be shackled to the truth of humanity. Absolutely not. We will break away and I will tell you the truth. But Disney made a lot of announcements for basically no new IPs, just sequels or prequels or live action versions to beloved classic movies that are animated. Don't get me started on the Snow White and on the Seven Dwarfs. Oh my gosh. But what I am looking forward to, and I'll just say it, I'm looking forward to Toy Story 5. I love that franchise. I truly do. The third movie almost made me cry. I'm tough. I can admit it. But damn it. That pushed the limits. That gave me what I needed. It went above and beyond what a Pixar movie should do, and it made me feel something. When they were all about to be incinerated in that furnace, oh, don't. But anyway, to infinity and beyond. But I'm looking forward to number 5. I think the fourth one, I would not go back and revisit it ever. I hated the story of the fourth movie. But hey, I'm looking forward to the 5th Toy Story movie. And also, I wouldn't mind seeing a new Incredibles movie. If they want to make Incredibles 3... okay, I hope it's cool and capitalizes on the genre and they do something new with it and innovative. They had like a live Lilo and Stitch movie coming out. I was never a fan of the animated, don't really care. And a few other things which I really don't care about, nor do I remember. I'm still sort of looking forward to the live Sword in the Stone movie, if that's still on the horizon. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm looking forward to a new Toy Story 5 movie. Just give me a fun story, but also think of everything that they really could do with it. Like, I want to focus on another aspect of those toys being stuck in another situation that we have not seen. Like, I would like to see those toys stuck with like a 29-year-old dude. How would that story go? Like, is it almost like Ted, where you have Mark Wahlberg and instead of a giant teddy bear, you have Buzz Lightyear and Woody just sitting there watching the football game with them as they all go through a midlife crisis? That would be an adventure I'd like to go on, okay? I know I'll never get that. I'm just saying it would be very relatable to the situation I'm in now. Hey, listen, in 95, when I was a kid, Toy Story was like, oh, this could be me. And as Andy progressed, I was sort of the same age when he gave up his toys. Now, would I be all weird about it and actually cry? Probably not. But I would still feel a bit of my youth being thrown down the drain and disintegrating in front of my eyes. So I completely related with Andy in that film where he was moving on. Yeah, man, it hits you in the feels. So I'm hoping the new installment, my point is, I'm hoping the new installment catches me at where I'm at in life now and capitalizes on that and gives me the feels once again. So what are you guys looking forward to? You looking forward to a new Toy Story movie? Also, Toy Story 4 was an atrocious entry to a perfect trilogy. Absolutely idiocy from Pixar to continue. Yeah, it was definitely a letdown of an installment. It really didn't add anything to it. John, could you fight John Kreese? You know what? I am so happy someone asked me about John Kreese, because I want all 358 of you to hear this right now. If you're watching the newest season of Cobra Kai, and I did finish the first part of the new season of Cobra Kai, we have to wait till November until the second part comes out. I watched this shit, okay? And I love me some first season Cobra Kai, but man, oh man, did they jump the shark and run out of ideas. John Kreese has escaped prison, and the only thing he wants to do is train teenage children in the woods in the way of Cobra Kai. And then one day, just maybe, if everything somehow works out, he wants to open some shopping mall where he has his little Cobra Kai dojo in there to train more children. Why? Because this is Cobra Kai. That's why. Why else, John Kreese? Vietnam. That's why. So anyway, every time his character just shows up, I instantly laugh my ass off. I love it. I love it for all the wrong reasons. So anyway, do I think I could fight John Kreese at this point? Yes, I will be honest. Yes. Would I feel bad about breaking him in half because he looks brittle? The only thing holding John Kreese together these days is Botox, let's be honest. And I feel like I could just kick him right in the sternum and break him in half. I really do. But I don't want to be that guy. You know, you don't want to be the guy who takes out John Kreese. You're better than that, you know? So that's the way I look at it. But I will sweep the leg. The next one comes from, I'm looking for, if they do an Incredibles 3, they need a good dark plot and age the characters. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think all the characters should age up to where they sort of should be. And I think that would only add to the interest factor of the movie. I think that would add the whole new dynamic to it that we need, because I think it's okay to get a little bit more mature with some certain franchises of Pixar films. Not to the point where it's obscene, you know, it should still be family friendly, but I think having adult themes in some Pixar films is, I think, what audiences need. You know, kids won't quite comprehend it, and that's fine. They'll still like what they're looking at, and adults will feel something. So that's the type of Pixar films I enjoy. Dustin Rich says, what would you rather be merged with, a teleporter accident, the pigeon lady, or an actual pigeon? What was this question? What would you rather be merged within a teleporter? What? Oh, merge? Oh, I had to be part of it, like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly? Oh, an actual pigeon all day. It can peck food and spit it in my mouth. If the pigeon lady touches me, so much as touches me, I will instantly die. My heart will explode in my chest, and I will just die. I cannot live in that much grossness. No. Dino Boy 909 says, Leprechaun 3 is slept on movie like Joyride. Oh shit. Is that I forget Leprechaun 3. Is that where he's in the hood? I don't know, man. Maybe one day I'll go back and revisit it. All right, let me see if there's another question here. Oh, Kevin told me I missed his question 3 times, but if he just would have told me. Oh, here it is, Kevin. What are the best and worst investments you have ever made? Great question, Kevin. Worst investments, in buying, I guess moving so much and investing so much in places I lived was a complete waste of time and a waste of an investment. But at the time, you don't really have any other choice. You have to move. You have to live somewhere. So there's a lot of money spent on that. Also, just dumb shit. When you're bored, you want to eat out or buy things you don't want and don't need that you never really utilize. Some of those things were definitely a waste of time and our investments. But mostly just women. No, I'm just kidding. Someone said Tusk is one of the grossest movies. Yeah. Cillian Murphy should have been cast as Doctor Doom. I think that's a great casting choice, but having Robert Downey Jr. to some degree is more interesting to me. I think if Tony Stark couldn't be the hero Iron Man, but in a multiverse he would be something else, Doctor Doom kind of feels right to me. And maybe that's a weird, sloppy fanboy thing to say, but that sounds like it's going to offer a bit more than just having someone like Cillian Murphy play straight up Doctor Doom. I don't know. If maybe it's a selfish answer. I loved Robert Downey so much as the heart of Marvel in one regard. Now he can be the heart of it in another one. You know, he can be the most hated guy after being the most loved. I love that dynamic. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I think that's kind of a smart move from Disney. Most people might disagree, but I think that's a power play from Disney. Chris Ramirez says Incredibles 3 in the style of The Boys. Gimme ass. What? Oh man, I don't know if we could go that bleak or that dark with it, but if they do have a little bit more adult humor in it, I can dig on that, man. Like you have what's his name, Dash. Now he's gonna be like 20 years old. Can you imagine Dash's love life? That could be interesting. I don't know if that's too much. Dino Boy 909 says Chucky versus Leprechaun. Who you got? Oh, I'll go with the Leprechaun, man. He can do magic. Plus, he's slightly taller. Bradley Pooper says thoughts on Avatar, Fire and Ash, and Avatar in general. I will make this probably one of the last questions of the night. So please don't ask any other questions or super chats because I don't want to miss you. I loved the first Avatar. I was really looking forward to the Avatar sequels. I just think they're fun, immersive blockbusters that you can eat some popcorn to. And damn it, James Cameron can make a damn fine, entertaining big blockbuster movie that just makes your eyes orgasm, right? And he does that. Now, the second installment of Avatar, I just don't really have an urge to rewatch it ever again. Just the story it felt like Avatar 1.5 to me. I'm really hoping with the next installments they expand the story and do something else or expand on the lore of Avatar. I'm sure in Fire and Ash everything burns down, or maybe an asteroid hits the planet and they have to evacuate and go to Earth. I think that would be something cool and big, and just get me to another part of Pandora or get me off Pandora at this point. Just Pandora needs to blow up and we need to go back to Earth and harmonize. And if that's the way it ends, so help me. But anyway, I'm hoping it goes a bit bigger in the next installment. So do I want to see a big Avatar movie in the dead of winter to get out of the house and just immerse into another universe? Absolutely, I do. Do I think it's going to be this mind-blowing story? Absolutely not. Those are my thoughts on the Avatar movies, but I quite enjoyed the first one. I still think that was one of the cooler theater experiences I've had in a long time. Fire and Ash is going to be some. Yeah, it makes you scared because if people get bored with this franchise by the next installment, you still have like 2 more movies coming out. But nevertheless, the Avatar films always do great overseas. Like, that's where they make the most money. So I think it'll be just fine. All right. So I think I'm going to wrap up the live show there. Gillian LaBelle says the Fire is going to look great in IMAX 3D. Yeah, I think the movie will look fucking awesome. I can't wait to see some fire. Don't get me wrong, man. And giant blue people. Just, they got to throw something new into this franchise. Interject something big. Lee B. Films says favorite Hughes Brothers movie. Ooh, Hughes Brothers. I want to type them in because I know there's something I'm not going to remember. Okay, I'm glad I typed this in because I would have never remembered all of these. So when it comes to the Hughes Brothers, you have Menace to Society, Dead Presidents, American Pimp, From Hell, Book of Eli. I don't know, Menace to Society, honestly, I think would be my favorite. I didn't like that Book of Eli that very much. It felt kind of like I don't know, it kind of was an underwhelming post-apocalyptic movie to me. I know, maybe that's not fair. I think it was a little over-stylized. I think that's what I didn't like about it. By the way, fun fact, I could be making this up, but I will leave you with this. I think at one time, the Hughes brothers wanted to direct a Batman movie and have old man Clint Eastwood play Batman. I feel like I read that somewhere once, which would be very interesting. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up the live show there. I want to say thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the questions. It was nice to just chat with you guys back and forth. We will try to do these on a weekly basis, but if you missed it, go check out the brand new Flick Trip video over on my main channel, The Flick Pick. The link is down below. We look for the Steelbook of Furiosa. It was a nice throwback video, so I hope you enjoy it. I had a good time making it. As always, take care, have a great night, and I'll see you guys next time.